Welcome to the my-moo.com podcast. My-moo.com is your source for information on James Churchward and his theories of the lost continent of Mu. Podcast 18, James Churchward and the Muurish Empire, Washita. In researching my great-grandfather James Churchward, I am sometimes confronted with reference to his works. In some cases, the proposals supported by James' words agree in principle with the worldview espoused by James. In other cases, such as video games and science fiction adventure films, the references to his works are meant as a lark and not part of a scholarly work. Another category encompasses those academic theories that associate James' words and theories with a theory that he did not espouse. Still another category are those theories that completely contradict his theories, yet use him as a source. This commentary podcast documents yet another example of the use of James Churchward's theories that does not agree with his written works, although he is used as the source. The Muurish Empire, Washita, claims sovereignty over every other individual, state, county, or sovereign body, and to the world at large. Their assertion rests on their claim to be descendants of the Earth's first humans from the motherland of Mu. Furthermore, to quote a posted history, "Our Washita nation is a sovereign body of freedom-loving indigenous people who have existed all over the world and specifically on the North American continent for thousands of years. We were here long before Columbus discovered the New World. We, Washita people, who have always been guided by a bloodline of empresses, are known as the mound builders. This is evidenced by hundreds of man-made mounds all across the continent, particularly in the deep south. Our ancient territory covers much of the North American continent and more recently evidenced in the area of the so-called Louisiana Purchase." And contained in a subsequent passage, "We believe ourselves to be the original people of the Creator, the mothers and fathers of all civilized peoples on earth. As black, bushy-haired Homo sapiens, we can produce all other races, and no race can produce black individuals except black females and males." James Churchward's maps of his lost continent of Mu are used, and his name is bandied about as the authority on this subject, so one might expect to find mention of them in his books. These expectations would be sorely disappointed. I sent an email to the contact address on the website to request an interview. However, I did not receive a reply. I offer an open invitation to the Empress of Mu or her representative to discuss the contents of this presentation. So, what does James say about the black people of Mu and the colonization of the Americas? First, in the 1931 Children of Mu, page 98, James states, "The ancient Amazon route. Two of the most puzzling questions I've had to solve to be the slightest bit satisfied with my work was to tell how Negroes got to Atlantis and how Negroes got to Africa. Two facts had to be faced. Fact 1, all the earth was peopled from Mu, the motherland. Fact 2, the home of the Negro in the motherland was at the southwest corner of Mu, which is now represented by various clusters of islands called Melanesia, and here today are Negroes, descendants of those who were saved when Mu was engulfed. The Tibetan tablet map answers the questions. The inhabitants of the Melanesian islands prove it." And from the same book on page 101, "As is shown by various documents, Atlantis had a colored population in the south. I have never come across any documents showing that any Negroes were known in Central and North America. Being in Atlantis and none in Central and North America, the question was, how did they get into Atlantis? Subsequently, the Tibetian map answered the question. They came through the Amazonian Sea, therefore never touched Central or North America. In Africa, the Negroes and Negroids spread themselves out, multiplied and prospered up to the time that the mountains were raised. Then they suffered. The Zulus have a tradition that they did not always live in South Africa. They only came to South Africa from their home in the north when nearly all the people were destroyed by the raising of the mountains. A company escaped with their lives and came to South Africa. These were the forefathers of the Zulu nation. With regards to the claims of sovereignty over America as the original indigenous people, and using James Churchward as a source, the Washita, as a black nation, never peopled North or Central America. Since James wrote that no Negroes were in Central and North America, it is ridiculous for the Washita nation to claim to be an indigenous people of America and to use him as a source to make this claim. Another point arises from James' earlier quote. Fact 1. All the earth was peopled from Mu, the motherland. The Washita nation's apparent claim to be the only people descended from Mu is not supported by James' writing. In summary, the use of James Churchward's name and theories to support or lend credibility to the theory of a black indigenous people in North and Central America is academic and scholarly fraud. The evidence is clear and contained in James Churchward's writings. To state otherwise and further divide people tramples on James' belief that all Earth's people are from Mu and are entitled to the same birthright. If there is other supporting evidence for these theories, I would caution persons to demand secondary sources and the scholarly detail necessary to unwrite a fully researched and sourced history that currently exists. If someone manufactures such a major portion of their theory, what else could be lies? For those who may view this presentation as an attack on your birthright, or faith, or history, the onus is on you to provide sources for your claims. When someone comes along and sells you a bill of goods and the inventory doesn't match, why go after the guy counting the inventory? Shouldn't the buyer talk with the seller? I look forward to a civil discussion concerning this topic if one is necessary. Thanks for listening, and have a great day. The my-mu.com podcast will be created on an irregular basis and address the state of the research, post interviews with knowledgeable people, and challenge the status quo to arrive at a more complete understanding of James Churchward and his theory of a lost Pacific Ocean continent. Please check back frequently at my-mu.com or join our mailing list to keep up to date on our progress and join the discussions. This production, copyright 2010 by Churchward & Company, all rights reserved.